back for our PFL Pittsburgh predictions this Saturday from the UMPC Event Center again in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The PFL has two huge middleweight fights in the main and co-main events. As in the co-main, Dalton Rosta takes on Kasanganay. I believe that's 5 versus 3 in the rankings. And we've got the 1 versus 9 matchup, even though Bryan Battles never fought in the PFL, but he's ranked 9th, I guess, taking on the former champion in Johnny Eblen. And after Costello Venstina's huge victory over Fabian Edwards, where Fabian Edwards decided to wrestle Costello Venstina's. Why? I still don't understand that, but it's okay. We got it right. I don't care how we got it right, but we got it right. Now we will see who the next title challenger will be. I got to imagine if Eblen wins, he's going to get it. If it's not Eblen, I guess we'll figure things out from there. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more PFL action or PFL predictions on the channel. Last week, we went 10-1 on the PFL Madrid card, so looking for more success this week. We had a really good UFC card as well. I mean, we went combined at 20-4 on the two cards last week between both the UFC and the PFL, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below for more, leave a like, it helps the channel out as well. And yesterday we posted our UFC Seattle predictions, another middleweight fight with Israel Adesanya taking on Joe Pyfer. Both that UFC Seattle card and PFL Pittsburgh are going on at the same exact time on Saturday. Very rarely we get the PFL and UFC going head-to-head at the same time, because usually it's just not smart for the PFL to do that, but they're deciding this week they're going to give it a shot. So whatever, we'll have to have two screens going at the same time watching both the PFL and the UFC. On the main channel, Greedo plays daily college basketball best bets, daily NBA best bets, and starting Wednesday, it is the return of our daily MLB best bets. So make sure to join us over there, linked in the description down below. Main channel, Greedo plays daily various sport action, obviously other than mixed martial arts. Okay, on to the first of our 12 fights. 12 fights this week with the PFL. We're going to kick things off with the opener of Frédéric Dupois and Ethan Goss. Now, it's a solution. Obviously, we've always had the betting odds on the videos, and that's, if you watch our UFC videos, I'll always put the odds where the percentages are at right now. But for PFL, the odds don't come out till I think Wednesday or Thursday. So for now, again, it's not true betting odds, but I'm going to put the Tapology prediction percentage. I know, again, that doesn't do you any good in terms of, looking at action if you're trying to bet the fight, but it does give you a general idea of where the public is looking at for these fights. Because for the most part, you have to be fairly hardcore to be picking fights, at least for the PFL on Tapology. So again, it's not a guarantee, obviously, this fight, Frédéric Dupois is going to win. But I mean, it's not a guarantee a 95% favorite's going to win, even though it likely will. It just gives you a general idea where the public is thinking, and maybe, again, I mean, I know, the prediction markets have percentages, right? It gets you somewhat of an idea of where the lines are going to be at, as maybe, Frédéric Dupois is a 95% favorite, or I guess he is on the prediction market style. He is a 95% chance to win the fight this weekend against Ethan Goss. So we're going to put percentages on the screen for PFL because we don't have the odds, obviously, as these videos come out on Monday. Okay, our openers in the featherweight division between Ethan Goss and Frédéric Dupois, as we're taking, obviously, like I said earlier, we're taking the Montreal, Quebec, Canada native in Dupois to win the fight. Ethan Goss has fought before in the PFL. His last fight was with the Professional Fighters League, and he fought Alexei Pergande. Pergande obviously beat him in the first round with the Darce choke, and Pergande is really good, right? We're going to see Pergande later on this card. He gets a huge matchup against a fighter who got cut for the UFC, even though he was winning fights in Julio Arce. We'll get to that later on in the night. But Ethan Goss comes into the PFL, loses that fight to Pergande. I did fight in Bellator a long time ago, and if you are wondering, I do have PFL records in red, but I include Bellator as well, just because the PFL bought Bellator. So technically, Goss did fight in Bellator back in 2017, but the record obviously is where it's at for a reason. He's 12-8. He's lost back-to-back fights, lost by submission in the first round to former Contender Series alum who lost to Adrian Yanez in Brady Huang in 24-7 FC, and then proceeded obviously to fight Pergande in a fight where Goss was obviously not expected to win. He was a plus 745 dog, and he gets submitted in the very first round. Frédéric Dupois is an experienced PFL guy, somewhat, has fought twice in the promotion. Fought twice in 2025, got subbed by Gabriel Braga in his first fight, which is surprising again because we were told, and we watched Dupois outside the UFC, really good submission stuff, a lot of first round subs under his belt, and he got subbed in the first round by Braga in the tournament. Got another fight in the PFL in 2025 and submitted Nathan Kelly with a second round guillotine choke, a fight in which Dupois was an underdog in, so now he gets another opportunity in the promotion against Ethan Goss, and ultimately it just feels like a fight that Frédéric Dupois is supposed to win. It's very easy matchmaking, honestly, for him. Ethan Ethan Goss, not a great submission guy, not a great jiu-jitsu guy, as he has lost a lot, but half of his losses are by submission, against most recently coming to Pergande by Darce. Brady Huang heel hooked him, and then also a guillotine loss back in 2020 that sent him to a losing record of 5-6. I just don't like it. I do think the way Dupras fights, this fight is really set up for him to win. And again, as we've seen at a Goss, he's had back-to-back fights that haven't even made it past the first round. In both of those fights, Goss was getting subbed in the very first round. So I have to expect Dupras to win. Again, Dupras only won fights in his career by submission. He's got 9 victories. All 9 of them are by subs. 2 losses, one by knockout back in 2018. The other one, again, that submission loss to Gabriel Braga in April of 2025. So again, the matchup does feel really set up for Dupras to take the victory. And that's exactly what we expect to kick off the night. Ethan Goss, again, is really only in here to, I guess, be a stepping stone of sorts. Not even a stepping stone, just be another guy on the record, I guess, for Frédéric Dupras. Give me Dupras to win by first round sub over the American in the Wolverine, Ethan Goss. Okay. On to the second of our 12 fights on Saturday. We will now go to a matchup between the former UFC fighter Josh Fremd taking on Gerard Hussein Al-Silawi. So again, we don't have betting odds yet. So again, Tapology picks and voters and percentages don't always obviously reflect what Vegas believes or how Vegas believes the fight's going to go. Again, this is just giving you a feel of how the public feels about the fight. Al-Silawi, 59% of voters are picking him over Josh Fremd. A little surprising in my opinion. I know, again, Josh Fremd, UFC guy, again, just being purely a former UFC guy doesn't hold the weight it used to because the UFC just takes a lot of fighters now with the Contender Series, but that's neither here or there. Josh Fremd was kind of mid in the UFC, 2-4, had a lot of hype going into the UFC because of how he fought in FAC and he fought in LFA with the only loss being to Gregory Rodriguez. I got a little excited when Fremd, came into the UFC. He won on looking for a fight, and they gave him Anthony Hernandez in his first fight. Expectedly, he lost. And then he got subbed by Tresean Gore, who's coming up next week in the Apex, but Tresean Gore now has a 5-4 record. He then beat Cedricus Dumas, expectedly did Fremd, and then he beat Jamie Pickett, okay, and then ran into Roman Kopylov, expectedly got TKO'd with a body shot in the second round, and his last UFC fight was Andre Petroski. He was booked again to fight Abdulrazak Al-Hassan later in 2024. Fremd missed weight by 4 pounds. Fight never happened against Razak Al-Hassan, and the UFC ultimately cut Fremd because of the weight miss. So now he gets Gerard Hussein Al-Silawi in the PFL. We have not seen Fremd fight now since July of 2024, and for Hussein Al-Silawi, kind of turn around his career a little bit. I don't know. So again, Gerard Hussein Al-Silawi is a guy that the PFL has used up quite a bit. Like they've booked Al-Silawi a lot. He fought in the 2023 regular season back when they still did the point system where you got, the quick 6 for the finish and the Fab 5, I think it was called, right? I believe that's what it was called, for a second round finish. I missed that format, by the way. I get it. It was a little bit of a dumb system, but it forced guys to get finishes. And obviously what killed it was the fact that you'd get guys who fight their second regular season fight and they'd fight again in the postseason right after, so you get back-to-back matchups. But I don't know. I liked the uniqueness of it. And now PFL just feels like Bellator again, which is nothing wrong with that, but I don't know. I didn't mind the PFL format at all. I actually really like the regular season and postseason stuff. I know I'm definitely in the minority with that, but whatever. Anyways, Al-Silawi fought in the 2022 regular season and the 2023 regular season. Ultimately ended up a combined 1-3 in those 2 years. In 2022, fought Gleibson Tebow, an old Gleibson Tebow, and beat it by split decision. Then fought Magomed Umlatov, got knocked out. Then in 2023, he's back, fought Sadibou C, got TKO'd. And then fought Solomon Renfro, got the loss in that fight too, got knocked out. He comes back to the PFL to fight in PFL Mena, which obviously is nowhere near the level of what the stateside PFL promotion is. Beat Ryan Atmani by submission, and then got knocked out by Omar Al-Dafri, which at the time we didn't think was that great, but Al-Dafri ends up winning the PFL championship PFL Mena championship in 2024. He beat Daniel Masili as well, who again, never the greatest PFL Europe guy, but yeah, Al-Dafri's fought pretty well. He's coming off a loss now to Forums in Delhi, and he's going to be fighting. Al-Dafri will be in Chicago in a couple weeks for the PFL. But now all of a sudden, the Al-Silawi lost to Omar Al-Dafri. Doesn't look that bad. Came back and beat Gregory Babinet in his last fight by split decision. Okay. Can Josh Fremd do enough damage on the feet's the question. On the ground, I think it's kind of even, actually. Guys, I was so unimpressed with Josh Fremd's UFC run. He did lose to Tresean Gore. Also, while he's very chinny at this point of his career, been knocked out 5 times. Again, Al-Dafri knocked him out, Sadibou C knocked him out, Renfro, Magomed Umlatov, and those are good fighters. If Fremd's able to do some damage on the feet, he should be able to win. But Josh Fremd hasn't knocked anybody out since 2021 in LFA. not fighting UFC competition anymore, but how good is Al-Silawi really at this point in his career? He's just beating up on regional guys, let's call him how it is, on PFL Mana, and, just a veteran and journeyman guy in Gregory Babanet, and barely got by him. I'm going Josh Fremd. I'm going Josh Fremd to win the fight by... I'm going to go Fremd by TKO. Ugh, that doesn't feel right. I'm going to go Josh Fremd second round TKO. I don't love the pick. I wouldn't bet it. I think Fremd is just a little bit, not that much younger, but I do think he's in a better spot than Al-Silawi is. I think Fremd, being off for a year and a half is actually going to help him in this spot. Much more fresh fighter. I think he will beat Al-Silawi again. I would not bet the fight in the slightest, though. Give me Josh Fremd, second round TKO. I think he's able to do some damage on the feet, mix it up and wrestle a little bit. Let's get the FAC version of Josh Fremd back, all right? Second round TKO for the American. On to our third fight of the night, we go to a matchup between Tatiana Postarnakova versus Elora Dana. Obviously, Postarnakova is a pretty big favorite, least expected in this fight. Postarnakova, undefeated Russian at 6-0, taking on a 1-1 PFL fighter in Elora Dana, who's coming off a loss to Liz Carmouche in her last fight, which obviously was expected as Carmouche ended up winning the 125-pound tournament for the PFL. I have to assume she's going to be fighting Dakota Ditcheva sometime over the summer, even though Ditcheva herself said she wanted to fight before that, but whatever. I don't understand half the things the PFL does, but that's fine. Okay. Postarnakova making her PFL debut tonight. She's a 6-0 pro, coming over from the Nashi Delo promotion over in Russia. Again, undefeated over there. I did not fight in 2025. Her last victory came in December of 2026. And what I've seen on Postarnakova is a swarming ground game. She's going to try to go out there. She'll try to overwhelm you on the ground. She's going to look for submissions, and she's a finisher, right? She's still yet, Postarnakova has yet to have a fight that has gone the distance. Now, again, it's a little bit different when you fight regional talent compared to, obviously, fighters in the PFL, who, again, PFL talent sometimes up and down, but obviously, usually, better than the talent you're going to be getting in Nashi Delo over in Russia. As for Elora Dana, 8-1 as a professional, did win her first fight in the PFL over Diana Asavagora, who never really turned out for Bellator/PFL. Even she beat Alejandra Lara at one point, so I guess. Dana subbed her in the first round, then ran into, obviously, to Liz Carmouche, where expectedly she lost by decision. Elora Dana, former champion over in Jungle Fight, not a bad fighter, honestly, that has a decent ground game, which makes us quite interesting. And I'll tell you this, Postarnakova, I understand she's undefeated. In no world should she be an 86% favorite over Elora Dana. I don't think it's that big of a differential in both fighters, just fighting styles and fighting abilities. I'll tell you this. I think Postarnakova is going to win. I think she's going to win a decision, though, right? I mean, you look at Elora Dana and what she's able to do on the ground, not a bad jiu-jitsu fighter at all. We talked about it, too, and I said it earlier, right? The jump, you have to make some time from the regional scene, and I always say this to the UFC, but I'll apply it to the PFL, too. The jump's pretty big at times, and for Postarnakova, she's used to just going into fights and melting fighters once she takes them down. It is a little bit different once you get fighters who are in the PFL, and I get it, again, PFL levels can be up and down at times, but Elora Dana has picked up a victory before in the PFL, did go 3 rounds with the tournament champion in Liz Carmouche, ended up making it, obviously, to the second round of the 125-pound tournament last season. I do think she's able to hang, and again, how good is Postarnakova really? Her best victory comes over, I guess it's her last fight, her victory over Giovanna Eduarda, who at the time was a 5-2 pro, now 5-3. Again, how good of a win is that really? Because I'm looking at Giovanna Eduarda. She had one victory over a fighter with a winning record, and that winning record was 1-0. So it was a padded 5-2 at that. So I just don't think Postarnakova is that great. But again, we just have no way of knowing because she fought bums on the regional scene. So that's why I will not say she's going to go out here and submit Elora Dana, and I won't say as well she will easily win this fight. There's no, she's not as big of a favorite as the Tapology votes indicate. I am going to still side with the 86%, but I don't think it's one-way traffic like that. Again, I would watch out. Again, how good is Postarnakova really? Again, is it just she's really good and she's melting all these fighters, or she's just fighting a bunch of, cans on the regional scene, or is it a little bit of both? I do think it actually is a little bit of both. I think Postarnakova does get the victory, but this is going to be a competitive grappling match. I think Postarnakova is just going to barely get buy-in. Give me the Russian undefeated fighter and Tatiana Postarnakova to win the fight by unanimous decision. It feels like Loki is split, not going to lie, but give me Postarnakova. On to our fourth fight as we move on to a matchup in the welterweight division between Ernesto Rodriguez taking on Masayuki Karuki. Kikuiri is back now in the PFL after going 1-1 last year with the promotion. Ended up fighting in the 170-pound tournament. Again, was a second-round exit in that thing as he won his first-round matchup against Yanis Bashar. That was originally not supposed to be a tournament fight, but then it ended up being a tournament fight, if I'm not mistaken. And then he ended up fighting Logan Storley in the second round, and expectedly Logan Storley beat Kikuiri by unanimous decision. Isn't it kind of funny Logan Storley is getting a main event in the PFL in Sioux Falls, South Dakota later in the year against Florim Zindelli? Why? I don't know, but it's okay. Masayuki Kikuiri is back. He's taken on the 10-1 Ernesto Rodriguez. Rodriguez coming off a Tough Enough championship victory against Tough Enough, but did win the Tough Enough belt by first round knockout. This is a fighter who has fought in LFA before, fought in Uriah Faber's A1 combat, did make an appearance, I believe, in LFA as well, right? I think he fought in LFA at one point too. So an experienced guy in the regional scene in America. Only loss comes in Titan FC way back in 2021, so not really concerned about that one, but it's been a lot of winning for Ernesto Rodriguez, and what I've seen out the guy is a decent striking game with the ability to grapple as well. Just an all-around, very well-balanced fighter. Again, came out there in his last fight, really smoked the guy he fought. I believe enough in Ernesto Rodriguez. Does feel like a decent prospect. Again, though, it's a little difficult to... Tough Enough's not a great promotion, okay? They get a lot of Las Vegas guys, and it's on Fight Pass. You don't get the best opposition, though, when you fight in Tough Enough. So it's really hard to dictate at times how good Ernesto Rodriguez is. I think he's good enough. We shall see. Kikuiri... He beats Yanis Bashar in his first fight, just does enough damage to Bashar. I'll tell you, the guy that, again, Kikuiri beat in Yanis Bashar, fought in the Ultimate Fighter, got smoked by Robert Valentin in 20 seconds, was a Cage Warriors champion, but at the end of his career, right? Got in the Ultimate Fighter at 34, then fought in PFL at 35. Kikuiri beats him and beats his ass for 10 minutes. So, okay, like, again, it's a good victory. Am I too impressed by it? Not entirely. Now, Kikuiri prior to that won in Bellator. He beat beat Herman Tirardo, actually, and then after that went out and beat Alexei Shurkovich. So he is 4-1 as a whole in PFL Bellator. Is Ernesto Rodriguez good enough to go out here and beat Kikuiri? I don't know. Again, this does feel like a fight where you look at the Tapology votes and you see 84% for Rodriguez and 16% for Kikuiri. You kind of scratch your head at it. Not because, I don't think Rodriguez is going to win. It's just, I don't think he's that big of a favorite. And I think when the odds come out, you're not going to see, again, the equivalent of 84% is going to be like what? A minus 350? Give or take. I'm doing that off the top of my head, right? I think Rodriguez is going to be like minus 180. I think he'll win. Again, it's like the Postarnakova fight. I think he'll win. I just don't think he's that great. I don't know. He's given up some size here. I will say Rodriguez should have a power advantage against Kikuiri. Kikuiri, can't hit hard, but more of an accumulation guy in terms of damage. I do think if Ernesto's able to push forward and walk forward and just, fight on the front foot the entire fight, I do think it's going to give Kikuiri a little bit of problems. And I do expect Ernesto Rodriguez to win. Again, I don't know how high level of a prospect he is really, though. Extreme Couture guy. So again, fighting in Tough Enough. It's like the Postarnakova fight. How good is he really? Yes, he's the Tough Enough champion, but a good regional fighter will win the Tough Enough belt. So I don't really have much, and there's not much weight to put into that victory. Again, good for him for winning it, but again, how much do we really care? I don't know. I'm going to go Rodriguez by decision. I think he's able to win this fight on the feet. I need him to walk forward in this fight, though. Kikuiri's not a bad striker. I will not lie to you. If Rodriguez is walking forward, though, I think he should win. He should have a power advantage, and the strikes he throws should be doing a whole lot more damage than what Kikuiri's offering back. Again, like the Postarnakova Dana fight, though, I don't like it that much. And it's not to the point where I'd bet on it, nor would I, get close to parlaying it either. I'm going to go Rodriguez by decision. Again, not one of my most confident picks, though. Let's move on now to the lightweight division as we get yet another former UFC name in Dakota Harry Bush as he takes on Robert Watley. Robert Watley's back in the PFL after picking up a huge victory over Mads Burnell. And I know Mads Burnell may be a little bit washed at this point of his career, but whatever, a huge victory for Watley in his last outing, I think it was about 7 months ago, over Mads Burnell. Finished him in the third round, was an underdog in that fight. Watley coming off of defending and winning the CFFC championship, was a PFL fighter back in the day, fought in PFL back in 2018, lost to Will Brooks and Chris Wade in the 2018 season. So an experienced guy who was an LFA champion back in 2017, had to go back to the regional scene, obviously, after not turning out in PFL, won the CFFC championship immediately as he signed with the promotion, defended it a couple times. Now here he is, obviously, back in the PFL. And what a re-entry back into the Professional Fighters League, beating Mads Burnell and finishing Mads Burnell. Again, where's Burnell at this point of his career? I just don't know. Back-to-back L's for him, back-to-back TKLs for Burnell. We shall see. But a really good victory for Watley, and now he's going to get another guy who's really rebuilt himself on the regional scene, obviously in Dakota Bush. Dakota Bush got his shot in the UFC during the pandemic, had 2 fights in the promotion, lost to Austin Hubbard and Vaishlav Borshev, got TKO'd with a body shot or liver shot by Borshev, which, isn't really aging to be the best loss, but whatever. I mean, at the time, again, it is what it is. He lost 2 fights in the UFC, really rebuilt himself through the regional scene, won 2 fights in FAC, won a fight in Iowa Fight Series, and Nemesis Fighting Alliance, won their championship over there, and most recently just won in Cage Titans. No, okay. Dakota Bush is not a New England cartel guy, so it's okay. If you know, though. Cage Titans is usually those victory farming promotion. It is a victory farming promotion for New England cartel guys so they can build up their records so they can eventually make the UFC and get smoked once they get into the UFC. Cage Titans is the worst regional promotion in the USA. I'm not joking. Like, they never get good talent out of that promotion. It is crazy. Dakota Bush did just beat Joe Giannetti in that promotion. Giannetti, obviously former Ultimate Fighter, not winner, lost to Trezano in the championship fight, but again, fought in the UFC at one point in time. So not a bad victory for Bush, right? Won a decision over Joe Giannetti. Now, though, back on the somewhat national spotlight, getting a shot against Robert Watley. I think he's going to lose. I think Watley's all around just better. Watley's got a good striking game. He can get down there, grapple, and if he gets you down, obviously, ground and pound's a big thing for him. Obviously, not ground and pound in general, but he's going to throw strikes once he gets on the ground. And he is a very aggressive submission pursuer as well. Again, back-to-back fights, defending the CFFC championship, both of which were by submission. My goodness. Rear naked choke victories back in 2023 and 2024. I like Watley quite a bit. Again, he's just older. He's 36 years of age, definitely at the end of his career, but a guy who has continued to win as he's gotten older. A guy that, again, did not really make it when, in 2018 he was 28. I mean, we're 8 years removed from that initial run in the PFL from Watley. So, I mean, that was, PFL right after they, changed their name from World Series of Fighting to PFL. So, Watley's been around for a while, and he's rebuilt himself through the regional scene. Took 4 years off of fighting between 2019 and 2023 when, again, he came back to CFFC. But in this recent run, he's still yet to lose. And yes, Dakota Bush has looked really good on the regional scene, but, and I get it, Mads Burnell hasn't been great. But if you're beating Mads Burnell, I do expect you to beat Dakota Bush, too. Bush should be competitive on the ground. Again, never been submitted before. I do think Watley's eventually going to get the fight down, and I do think he's going to TKO Dakota Bush. It's just what Watley's been doing. He's been going out there and continuing to get finishes. So I'm going to take, again, Robert Watley, who has not lost since 2018 in the PFL, just in general. Again, that loss was in the PFL. I'm going to take Watley to continue to win. I'm going to go second round TKO victory over to Dakota Bush, who, again, last time we saw him in the national stage, just didn't fight well at all. So I'm going to go Watley to win this fight by second round TKO, again, in the 155-pound division. Speaking of the lightweight division, let's continue at 155 with a matchup between the former PFL Europe champion and Jakub Kaszuba as he's taken on Natan Schulte. I'm surprised Natan Schulte is back. And Natan Schulte, I guess maybe never got cut. I don't know if he was ever cut. He just never fought anywhere else. If you don't know the story, Natan Schulte's last MMA appearance, it was a PFL appearance, was against Hoosh Manfio. Hoosh Manfio actually fought pretty well in the PFL when he was there, right? Lost the championship fight, I believe. No, sorry, he won Hoosh Manfio really won the belt. He did. He beat Luik Radzhabov, which is crazy because Radzhabov in the UFC now did lose to Trey Ogden. His last fight hasn't fought in a couple years, or in a year, but that's crazy. Yeah, Hoosh Manfio really won the thing because he beat Pettis. Hoosh Manfio went on a run in 21, man. It was crazy. Anyways, Hoosh Manfio fought Natan Schulte, right? They built it as champion versus champion because Schulte was the champion in 2019. Manfio was the champion in 21. Schulte got injured in 21, so that cleared the path for Manfio to win the belt that season at 155. But regardless, they booked that fight in 23. Both fighters, I believe it was win or go home for both guys. Yeah, because Manfio had beaten Alex Martinez, Natan Schulte had beaten Stevie Ray, and it was win or go home essentially. That, again, back when they had the point system. And Natan Schulte won. However, at the end of the fight, and it was an awful fight, don't get me wrong. The two guys were sparring. They weren't really trying hard at all. Schulte was landing a little bit more, but no real damaging shots were landed in that entire fight. So Natan Schulte gets the victory, and they have kept the victory on his record. Like, he is now 25-5-1. But the PFL immediately after that happened said, hold on, no. We're going to say this fight, yeah, it's a win for you. It does not count, though, in terms of the PFL standings, and you're not advancing to the playoffs. Instead, we are giving your playoff spot to Shane Burgos. And it was crazy because Burgos had lost his first regular season fight to Oliver Aben Mercier. And he fought Yamato Nishikawa, where he won, but by decision. So they gave Burgos the playoff spot, even though he had 3 points, and didn't give it to Schulte, which again, it made sense that they, did something to Schulte and Manfio for fighting the way that they did, but it at the time also felt weird because Burgos was their guy, their big signing, who has not fought since 2023. He was their huge signing. They booked him against Abin Mercier. I think I don't know if we all thought, but I expected Burgos to win that fight. He lost it. They had him fight Nishikawa, which obviously he won. He didn't finish Nishikawa like they wanted, but they wanted their big signing to get into the playoffs. So they said, okay, Schulte, you're not in. Burgos advanced to go fight Clay Collard. Burgos lost. So anyways, we haven't seen Burgos since. So now, Natan Schulte's back to fight Jakub Kaszuba. Again, Schulte has not fought since 2023. 3 years later, you're now 34, and now you're fighting Kaszuba. Schulte never appeared that washed. He just, he looked a little slower in the Stevie Ray fight. Beat Manfio. Did beat Jeremy Stevens, who, by the way, is back in the UFC fighting Bobby King Green on a main card of a pay-per-view in New Jersey in a month, so there's that. But Schulte was really never that washed. I mean, again, looked a little bit slower, not, again, at the height he was back in 2019 when he won the World Championship, but only ever lost to two guys in the PFL. Lost to Marcin Held back in 2021, and then lost to Oliver Aben Mercier in 2022. So, is coming to this fight with the 4-fight winning streak, getting the win in his rematch against Held, beat Jeremy Stevens, beat Stevie Ray, and then the Manfio victory. But he's taken on Jakub Kaszuba, who, again, is undefeated at 15-0, two-time PFL Europe champion. I have to imagine Kaszuba is going to win this fight. I do think so. Again, I think Schulte's a little bit slower, and it's pretty clear how Natan Schulte's going to try to win this fight. Keep it standing. If Natan Schulte can keep this fight on the feet, he should be able to see a lot of success. Sorry, if Kaszuba is able to keep this fight on the feet against Schulte, he should be able to see a lot of success. Again, we know how good Natan Schulte can be on the ground. 10 submissions under his belt, right? Won the PFL championship back in 2019 over Radzhabov, which was a huge upset at the time. He won in 2018 as well. He beat Magomedov in 2018. So again, Schulte's a two-time champion. He's been great. Beat Chris Wade en route to winning the belt in 2018 twice. It's been a really great run, right? He fought in World Series even before, again, they turned in the PFL. But I just think being off for 3 years and taking on a guy at the caliber of Kaszuba, who has not fought a fighter like Schulte yet, do not get me wrong, I think Kaszuba is going to get the best of him. And again, I do believe Kaszuba's got a decent ground game, but it's going to have to be through the striking, I think. And what Kaszuba can do in terms of his defensive wrestling is going to pay dividends in this fight, because if he can keep Schulte on the feet, I do expect him to win. And still, again, I feel really odd about Schulte because of his last fight and the fact that they did, X out that fight essentially. And I thought that meant, it meant the end for Manfio. We haven't seen Hoosh Manfio since. He's lost a lot outside the PFL, but Schulte just hasn't fought since. The PFL wants Kaszuba to win, and I believe he's going to come through. I'm going to go Jakub Kaszuba to beat Natan Schulte. I'm going to go with the Polish fighter by unanimous decision. On to our next fight, we move to the bantamweight division. It is the PFL debuts Cartwright's fought once here, but Jack Cartwright's fighting the PFL debuting fighter in Alan Begosso. Begosso, a former Dana White's Contender Series fighter, got an opportunity with Dana White's Contender Series back in 2022 where he lost to Farid Basharat, which, that's a pretty good guy to lose to. Basharat still hasn't lost. He's 15-0. Basharat was 8-0 at the time. And now Begosso gets his PFL debut coming off of 3 consecutive victories in LFA, most recently a victory by TKO over Arnold Jimenez in 2026, again, just a month ago. And he's going to be taking on Jack Cartwright, another fighter who was unsuccessful in the Contender Series. Now, I will say, Alan Begosso's loss in the Contender is an undefeated fighter still in Farid Basharat, whatever. Jack Cartwright's loss, Jose Johnson, who never won a fight in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Did he pull one off? He did win one. Who did he beat in the UFC? Oh, he beat Chad Anheliger. That doesn't really count. Jose Johnson, by the way, just fought Juan Archuleta last year and obviously lost. But anyways, Jack Cartwright lost to Jose Johnson. He was the Cage Warriors champion going into that fight, had a lot of hype around him, was a pretty big favorite against Jose Johnson. Slight favorite over Jose Johnson, who was the anorexic flyweight. He was like 125. He was 125, but he was like 6'2". It was absurd. He lost to Jose Johnson, though, Jack Cartwright. Hated it. Goes to Octagon, 2-1 over there. Comes into the PFL, huge underdog against Callan Loughran, and he beat Callan Loughran. Wow. Yeah, Loughran will be back in about a month. He'll be fighting on the Paul Hughes card coming up, where he should win. He's fighting Alan Philpott, who's 21-17. Yeah. I'd hope you win, Callan Loughran. Anyways, a guy who's just it seems like he's got all the talent in the world, just has never put it together. I don't know. I still think Loughran can be really good. But anyways, Cartwright beats Loughran, which is great. He was supposed to fight Bryce Meredith on this card. Been a horrible fight for him. And now on short notice, here comes Alan Begosso. Begosso's good. Normally, I hate taking short notice calls. I'm taking Begosso in this fight. Very undersized, I'll tell you that. He's 5'5" and 135 pounds. Cartwright 5'9". Begosso's explosive, though. He is explosive. He can, he throws hard in the feet, and you have to throw hard at, if you're 5'5" at 135, right? Because there's a reason he's not a flyweight. He throws very hard for just being 5'5" tall. Wrestling-wise, not bad. Again, he can go down there and scrap. Jack Cartwright's a good fighter, right? Has good submission skills of his own. Beat Callan Loughran and looked really good in that fight. But I like Begosso. Begosso's the much more explosive fighter, and coming off that victory just a month ago in LFA, there's momentum brewing for him. Again, went straight from winning an LFA right back into jumping into another fight. I believe Meredith dropped out, I think it was a week ago out of this Cartwright fight, so Begosso's had enough time. He's had about a week and a half, a little bit over a week and a half to prepare for a fight like this against Cartwright. Again, Cartwright beats Loughran, catches Loughran off guard, and wins. I mean, again, good for him. I just expected more out of Callan Loughran, who was originally supposed to fight Lewis McGrillen-Evans in that fight back in October. So, again, Cartwright's coming off a win where he got a short notice call in his PFL debut. He wins. Alan Begosso now gets a short notice call against Jack Cartwright in his PFL debut. I'm going to go again with the short notice call. I like Alan Begosso. Jack Cartwright, since the Contender Series, again, in Octagon was not great. He's okay, not great. Beats Callan Loughran, all right. I think Begosso beats him. Very explosive guy from what we've seen. I'm a guy, again, who has a decent ground game. I mean, watch, he's got a jumping knee knockout back in 2022 in LFA as well. That was the fight that got him the Contender Series matchup, where again, he lost to Fareed Basharat. But Begosso, again, has been really good in LFA. He did lose his one LFA fight to John Sweeney. Sweeney at one time was a pretty hyped up prospect, but then just went to Ryzen and lost. I guess Sweeney's still kind of hyped up when he's 30. I don't know. I think he's signed to Ryzen now. But anyways, I like Begosso enough. Good jiu-jitsu skills. Pure wrestling, I think he'll be fine wrestling-wise. Again, good jiu-jitsu, explosive on the feet. I like Alan Begosso to win this fight wherever it goes. I'm going to go, because it's short notice, I'm going to go Begosso by decision. I do believe he is better than Cartwright in this spot. Let's move on now to another fight in the bantamweight division, a fight that I don't know why this has been scheduled and sanctioned, but whatever. Lazaro Dayron takes on Jacob Thrall. Why? Just feels like another one of these PFL fights that just get thrown together, and it's like, all right, well, we know what guy we want to win, just like when Baggio Ali Walsh fights, and he's fighting in about a month. Yeah, I just don't get it. Lazaro Dayron will easily run through Jacob Thrall. Easily. It's just, how does Dayron win? Does he win by knockout? Does he win by submission? It'll be knockout. First round knockout victory for Lazaro Dayron. I don't think Jacob Thrall is good enough to be in there with him. Now, again, I will give credit to where credit is due with Thrall. He's been winning fights. He's been a winner, I think, his last 5. Look at the guys he's fighting, though, is the real thing. Okay, so Jacob Thrall's last loss came in MMA, came back in August of 2024. Lost to Chuko Willis in knuckled up promotions by unanimous decision. Okay. Then beat a 6-2 Cody Peterson, a 5-3 Ryan Melanson, a 4-6 Delfino Benitez, a 3-14 Joey Estrada in Crash Combat Championship. What the hell? This guy, Joey Estrada, that was his 8th consecutive loss. He had a loss to Jeff Molina and Garrett Armfield in there as well. Wow. Wait, and it's the second time he fought Jacob Thrall? They boxed in 2021? What's going on? And then Thrall, again, beats a 3-14 guy, and then does pick up win over a 9-2 fighter in Diego Levante. If you dive deeper into what Diego Levante was, Jacob Thrall is the first ever fighter that this Diego Levante guy fought that wasn't 0-0 making their pro debut. Okay, we've looked at everything in the regional scene. It's very padded. It's very Mickey Mouse. On top of all of this, Jacob Thrall is coming off a loss in boxing. Had a boxing fight in what promotion is this? Cardin Combat Sports in St. Joseph, Missouri. He fought on the Throwdown in Joetown, where he lost to some boxer named Dakota Igimi, who's, I guess, a 5-0 pro boxer. He got knocked out. Don't love that. I mean, again, how committed to the game are you if you're taking boxing fights? I get it, he's doing both, but how committed to the game are you? And again, look at his regional scene action. He's winning, but he's beating bums, and he's beating guys who have beaten bums. I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed at all. Not in the slightest. Lazaro Dayron's good. Undefeated 9-0, 9-0-1. He has a draw against the now Ryzen champion in Danny Sabatello. So that's meaningful. Sabatello, now the Ryzen champion over there. The Bellator Ryzen champion. Bantamweight, my goodness. Bantamweight Ryzen champion. And Lazaro Dayron took him to a decision. And Sabatello, at the end of his run in PFL Tour, was not looking great. Really changed his career over in Ryzen. I have to assume he's a couple fights away from coming back to America. And I think, does the UFC want him, though? Because he's not the most entertaining, but he's a personality. So I don't know. Shout out to the Italian gangster. At one point in time, we believed he was going to be Ralphie and Stotts, and it was not a bad pick at the time, okay? And again, Sabatello's fighting well now in Japan. But anyways, Dayron takes Sabatello to a decision, then fights Bryce Meredith, and knocks out Bryce Meredith. Again, the undefeated Meredith, former, oh goodness, where did he wrestle? Wyoming? I think he wrestled at Wyoming. Former University of Wyoming wrestler, undefeated at the time. Dayron drops him and knocks him out in the 3rd round. Impressive. The guy's good. Good defensive wrestling. He can put you on the feet. Again, the guy fought Meredith and Sabatello in back-to-back fights. 2 bad matchups for, in terms of trying to deal with wrestlers. Again, he was a favorite in the Meredith fight because of how he fought Sabatello, but still comes out there and finds the victory against Meredith. Undefeated is Lazaro Dayron. I think he obviously is going to continue his undefeated ways. This fight should not be much of a contest. I'm going to go with the Cuban, now training out of Miami, Florida, and the Hunter. Lazaro Dayron to be the Gerber baby's his nickname, Jacob Thrall. What are we doing? Lazaro Dayron by knockout. He's not a prospect. He's 33, but whatever. I'm going to go Dayron first shot knockout. He's fighting well. Next up, we move on to a huge matchup and a big fight that I like. Second main card fight, by the way. Dayron Thrall's the main card opener. We now move to the featherweight division as the undefeated Lipski Pergande takes on former UFC name Julio Arce, who never really lost a fight in the UFC going in. Well, no, he did lose a fight in the UFC. Sorry, didn't lose a fight on his way out the door. He got cut after a win, or at least his contract did not get extended in the UFC. I know why. He was 35, and they really didn't see a future for the guy, which I understand. But he's now in the PFL, and he gets a huge fight against Lipski Pergande. 7 men have tried, 7 men have failed. Here we go. Pergande gets by far now his toughest competition against Arce. Again, Pergande, we talked about his last fight. It was against Ethan Goss, who's now opening up the card again against Frédéric Dupras. So Pergande now gets Arce. Good fight. Really good fight. I like Pergande a lot, though, dude, man. Pergande's good. He does not have a knockout finish yet on his career, but, I mean, the guy's got good enough striking. Submission-wise, he's great. Obviously, he kind of went viral for the fact that he, defended a takedown by doing a backflip in a fight. But Pergande's an explosive and a dynamic fighter, and obviously, he's a big PFL name. The Professional Fighters League likes Pergande a lot. They've marketed him a bit, quite a bit. He's 7-0. All 7 fights have been in the PFL. He's got a TikTok account where he posts. I don't know how big he is on TikTok. He's big enough on TikTok. But still yet to lose a fight. And Pergande, again, dynamic striker. Again, doesn't have the finishing potential yet, but he's getting better on the feet. Has always had a pretty good ground game. I've always been impressed with Pergande. Now this is a huge fight for him. We're really going to see how good he is. Again, he is 24 years of age. Killcliff FC guy taking on a fighter who is 12 years older than him. But Pergande is a must-watch prospect, I do believe. He's a guy who I think is going to be really good for a very long time in the PFL. And this is a huge matchup for him. And the PFL keeps on doing this. Like, again, Patrick Habaroa is going to be fighting Benson Henderson. Obviously, Benson Henderson, a much bigger name than Julio Arce is. But older fighters. And, well, I mean, Habaroa fought, a couple other, oh, goodness, I'm blanking off the top of my head. Oh, my goodness, who did Habaroa fight? I'm blanking. British guy. Oh, my goodness, he fought a British guy. Danny Roberts, holy crap. Fought Danny Roberts as well in the PFL, right? So, like, the PFL keeps doing this. Danny Roberts, yeah. The PFL keeps doing this where they give their younger up-and-coming guys bigger, big-ish names to just, use as stepping stones. This is what this is. I mean, Pergande is going to roll through Arce, I think. But again, Arce's been pretty good. His only losses in the UFC are, like, decent guys. Shimon Moraes, whatever. Hakeem Dawodu at the time. Dawodu's fighting pretty well early in his UFC run. Arce lost to Song Yadong, Montel Jackson. Those are only losses for Arce. But okay, he's 36 now. End his UFC run losing to Herbert Burns. I believe he got cut because he missed weight. I think. Herbert Burns obviously sucked, but there's that, like, ultimate is Nepo UFC hire. But Arce finished Herbert Burns, goes and beats Shimon Moraes on the regional scene in a random rematch. I don't know why they did that. Fine, I guess. And then Arce just beat Wilson Heiss, who obviously fought Mighty Mouse at one point in time. You guys buying that rumor that Mighty Mouse is going to fight Muhammad Mokaev? I know Mighty Mouse says it's not going to happen, but there's just this thing floating around that Mokaev's got a super fight on the Jake Paul card. What other super fight is there at 25? Like, he's going to fight Wilson Heiss? Like, I don't know. Whatever. Adriano Moraes. Oh, it's going to be I just thought about it right now. It's going to be Adriano Moraes. Right? Yeah, it's going to be Adriano Moraes versus Muhammad Mokaev. It's not going to be DJ. If it is, I'll be shocked. If it is, that's going to be crazy. Anyways, it's going to be I think it's going to be Adriano Moraes. But anyways, Julio Arce, Alexei Pergande. Arce is good. It's just he doesn't have what it takes to beat Pergande, I think. Because, again, Pergande is so much younger. You can say, oh, he hasn't beaten that great of guys yet. It's because he hasn't been given that level of opponent yet. It's like the whole thing with Habaroa. We didn't know, like, how great Habaroa was, but they gave him, again, Danny Roberts. They're going to give him Benson Henderson. And he's passed all those tests. I think Pergande's been ready for this for a while. They've just taken their time, as we've seen PFL and, well, Bellator used to do this too. Take your time with young prospects, and it works out sometimes, like AJ McKee it worked for. I think Pergande, this is the first fight that really gets him into fighting named fighters, and he should beat Arce. I think Pergande will win a decision. I think we're going to see a lot of what Pergande can do on the feet and on the ground against a better fighter like Arce. But again, Pergande's 24, up-and-coming prospect. Arce's 36 at the end of his career. They wouldn't be booking this fight if they didn't think Pergande was going to win. Alexei Pergande wins the fight by unanimous decision. On to the featured fight of the night. Why is this higher on the card than Pergande? Ariane Lipski versus Sumiko Inaba. Okay. Sure, why not? Ariane Lipski got cut from the UFC after 3 straight losses. The record looks a little ugly now at 17-11. Went 6-8 in the UFC. She's taking on Sumiko Inaba, who I will say, fought really... stayed in there against Dakota Ditcheva. That's what I will say. Stayed in there against Dakota Ditcheva. Didn't beat Dakota Ditcheva, but didn't give up. Which, I say this all the time. Like, if the first thing I say about a fighter, or anybody says about a fighter, like on commentary, if the first thing they say about you is, wow, you're just so tough. And it's blank fighter's just so tough in there that you can't put him away. It's never a good thing. Because that means you just get your ass handed to you, and eventually you lose. But, you look good in losing, you're always in the fight. Okay. Ariane Lipski gets Inaba in this fight. I'm not saying Inaba's going to get that, she's going to get the tough tag on her. I hope she doesn't. But Inaba has been another one of these Bellator PFL fighters who she's fought nothing but Bellator and PFL fights in her career. Really padded record early in her Bellator career, do not get me wrong. She's a Hawaiian fighter. Every time they went to Hawaii, they had Inaba on the card. Inaba, again, a fun striker, but again, I don't know how high level she really is. Every time they've given her somewhat of a step up in competition, she's either struggled and barely won or lost. She got that step up against Denise Kiaholtz in 2023, was a favorite to beat Kiaholtz, ultimately lost that fight to Kiaholtz by decision. Fought Soraya Roscoe in her PFL debut. She's a minus 550 favorite. Barely got by Orozco. She won by split decision, but Orozco since hasn't won a fight. Orozco's now 8-8, and Inaba barely got by her, so yikes. Beat Mackenzie Stiller by TKO. Expected. Stiller only had 3 pro fights. Stiller's actually won 3 straight since in LFA, so I guess that's aging well. And then for some reason they had Dakota Ditcheva fight Inaba. Ditcheva was like a minus 4,000 favorite. Obviously she won. And I will say again, credit to Inaba, she stayed in the fight. Inaba stayed in there for the whole 15 minutes, took a beating, blocked punches with her face. But Ditcheva, who is the best flyweight in the world, I think. Natalia Silva, Dakota Ditcheva, I don't know. Couldn't get Inaba out of there. And Ditcheva finishes everybody. So that's huge. Like, I think Ditcheva is going to finish Liz Carmouche. So that's huge. Anyways, Lipski's now fighting Inaba. I just don't know if Inaba's high enough level to beat Lipski. Lipski, who lost 3 fights at the end of her UFC run against Karini Silva, Jasmine Jasdavidis, and Kong Wang, or Wang Kong, and now she's out of the UFC, obviously. Prior to that, won 3 in a row, JJ Aldridge and Melissa Gatto. Casey O'Neill was a pretty good victory. We'll see what O'Neill does this weekend in Seattle. And a huge spot for her against Gabriela Fernandez. But Lipski, fought in the UFC. She had 14 fights over there, was a KSW champion prior to going in or fighting in the UFC. I like Lipski to win, hesitantly. Lipski gets tagged, I'll tell you that. She gets tagged in the feet. I don't think Inaba's a better striker than Ariane Lipski. I know it's all Inaba does, but I think Lipski's better there. And also, too, the other factor, Lipski's way better on the ground. Way better. Inaba still at times feels like she's really green at the sport. She's been better now, but still very new to the sport still. She's only been in the sport for 5 years? She's 35 now, got in the sport really late. Didn't start fighting in amateur MMA until 2017, 2018. So again, just still 35 years old, but still new to the sport in a sense. Lipski's fought 14 times in the UFC. Former KSW champion. I think Lipski can win on the feet, and I think she's got a very clear advantage on the ground too. I'm going to go Ariane Lipski. She should be the stronger fighter in this one, too. So I'm going to go Lipski to beat Sumiko Inaba by unanimous decision. I'm not going to say it's a levels fight, but I do just think Lipski is just slightly better skill-wise. So give me Ariane Lipski, or her official name now, Ariane Lipski da Silva, to beat Sumiko Inaba by decision. We move on now to our co-main event in the first of back-to-back big-time fights in the middleweight division. The first of which, though, Dalton Rosta versus Impa Kasanganay, the runner-up last year in the PFL middleweight tournament, taking on the former PFL light heavyweight champion and former runner-up as well at middleweight in Impa Kasanganay. Huge fight, man. If you haven't watched the PFL videos on the channel before, I'm a huge Impa Kasanganay fan. I've been a fan of Impa since his first appearance in the Contender Series back in 2019. This is a guy, again, who got in the Contender Series after being a pro for 8 months. I've always really been a fan of Impa. I've always rooted for the guy. Nothing but fun fights out of Kasanganay, which sometimes isn't the best thing for him. But regardless, Kasanganay really has just worked at his craft, man. Got cut by the UFC, becomes a world champion in the PFL at 205, drops down to 85, and now here we are again after losing the championship fight in 2024 to Duvazhan Yagashinamirdov, again at 205 pounds, again, still at 205 for that tournament. Went down to 85 for the 2025, lost to Fabian Edwards by flying knee knockout in the second round. It is coming off a victory over Andrew Sanchez. Now, I will say right away, Kasanganay versus Sanchez was not a great fight. Was Impa winning? I don't know. I thought it was 1-1 going into the third, and I thought the late push from Impa was going to win him a 2-1 decision. I don't know. It was really odd, and the commentators too are kind of baffled by it. Randy Couture and Dan Hardy and O'Connell kind of baffled, like, why isn't Impa just going in this fight? It was really weird. Again, I thought he was probably going to win 2-1. Boringly, he was going to win 2-1 decision. But then he lands a huge right, blasts Sanchez, and puts him down with about 30 seconds left to go in the fight. Again, he was probably going to barely get a decision, but gets the knockout. There we go. Okay. I think it was just a weird thing that, okay, Impa had lost back-to-back fights. He was really hesitant to pull the trigger. Didn't want to get knocked out again. Didn't want to be a loser in 3 straight fights. Finds a way to get it done. Big time. Again, when he absolutely needed it, Kasanganay knocks out Andrew Sanchez. I don't really want to put too much into that fight. I think, again, it was just a weird spot where he was coming off back-to-back losses. Didn't win a fight at, lost the championship fight at 205, lost to Edwards in brutal fashion. Just needed to get back on the right track, needed to see one go through the hoop. And that's exactly what happened against Sanchez. So big time for Kasanganay coming off a win now. Dalton Rosta, guys, if I'm mapping out the perfect opponent to beat Dalton Rosta, this might bite me in the ass. I think it's Impa Kasanganay. I really think, hear me out. Okay. Dalton Rosta, great wrestling, right? Good striker. But how does he beat Impa? Legitimately, how does Dalton Rosta beat Kasanganay? Well, he's going to take Impa down and hold him down? Okay. Impa Kasanganay, I believe Impa Kasanganay beat Johnny Eblen. I believe so. I believe he beat Johnny Eblen. That was at 85 a long time ago. Go back and rewatch the fight. Tell me Impa doesn't win rounds 1 and 2. Okay? I'm not telling you, again, Rosta's as good as Eblen. And I get it. It's been 2 years since Kasanganay fought Eblen. But how does Rosta beat him? Rosta's a wrestler, right? Again, who has some striking. But again, Dalton Rosta's looking to take you down. I don't think he can take Impa down. Impa is so strong, man. Again, former 205 pounder. Used to fight at 70. Had to fight at 205 because at one point in time, PFL didn't have 85. Very strong dude. Again, just look. I mean, I don't think the picture here does Impa justice. It doesn't. Kasanganay is so built for 85. I mean, again, was way stronger at 205, obviously, but still carries a lot of muscle at 185 pounds, throws very hard hits like a truck, always walking forward. I don't think Rosta is able to take him down. And if Impa keeps the fight standing, he's going to force that firefight out of Rosta. And again, even for Impa too, like if I'm talking about a fighter that, top level fighter that I want Impa to fight, it's Rosta, because I don't think Rosta's good enough to knock Impa out. If he is, I'll tip my cap and say, okay, good on you, man. Dalton Rosta, you're legit. If Dalton Rosta is able to knock out Impa Kasanganay, which by the way, I mean, he's ever only knocked out Romero Cotton back in Bellator in 2022, which by the way, that was, at the time, that was a big time fight. I remember Romero Cotton was undefeated. I was really excited for that fight. Does that guy fight anymore? I don't think. Oh, he fought in 2025. Whatever. Rosta knocked out Romero Cotton, which was like wrestler versus wrestler. It was a really interesting matchup at the time. We expected Rosta to win, but I was really excited for it at the time. Anyways, I don't think Rosta's good enough to beat Impa, because he's going to knock Kasanganay out. The one thing that I don't love about Kasanganay, and this has been stated throughout his career, and I get scared watching Kasanganay fights quite a bit because I'm a big fan, is that his chin's not great. Like, one shot can put Impa down. Duvazhan Yagashinamirdov fight. Fabian Edwards, it was a perfectly timed flying knee, but yes, that put him down. Obviously, he's most well known for getting knocked out by Joaquin Buckley, the spinning back kick, right? The spinning back jumping kick, whatever the hell you want to call it. Carlston Harris knocked out Kasanganay as well. And why is his chin not great? That's a product of being in so many firefights. And that's why I believe he was so hesitant against Andrew Sanchez, which Sanchez really isn't the guy you need to be hesitant against. But whatever, Kasanganay wins, all it is. It is what it is. He wins the fight. It's all that matters. I'm not concerned about Rosta knocking him out. I'm really not concerned about that. Rosta is coming off fighting really well last year in the tournament, right? Won his first round matchup where he subbed Sadabusi, beat Aaron Jeffrey, got his get back after his initial loss, and then lost to Edwards in the championship fight. That's okay. Edwards obviously didn't go with this wrestle-heavy attack against Rosta like he did against Venstines. But here's the thing. Rosta beat Sadabusi. He's able to take him down. He's not going to be able to take down Impa. I don't think so. Impa is too strong for Rosta. I legitimately believe that. Kasanganay is going to be shorter than Rosta, but that's okay. Getting shorter, packs a heavier punch, very strong guy. Impa, again, is just a massive human being. Tree trunks for legs, legitimately. He is so difficult to take down. So difficult. I don't think Rosta is able to get him down. He's not going to be able to just walk through him on the ground like he did against Sadabusi. I think Kasanganay is going to keep this fight standing, and if it stays standing, yeah, Impa's going to find that shot against Rosta. Also, how does Rosta return after getting knocked out for the first time in his career? Championship fight, Dakota Ditcheva in the front row. He gets knocked out in front of Dakota Ditcheva. Yikes. And the PFL made a bigger deal of Ditcheva that night than Rosta, even though Ditcheva didn't fight. I think Kasanganay is knocking him out. Once Rosta can't get the takedown, I think he's screwed. I just need Impa. I need Impa to put his foot on the gas in this fight and just go. We can't have a hesitant approach like Sanchez. Because again, if Rosta knocks him out, he knocks him out. I don't think that's happening. I don't think Rosta has what it takes to put away Impa on the feet. If Impa walks forward, stuffs takedowns, he's going to break Dalton Rosta. Rosta's not going to be able to keep up, and Impa's blasting him in the face. Pause. Impa's, hitting him hard in the face, okay? Impa Kasanganay second round knockout over Dalton Rosta. I really think it's a great stylistical fight for Impa. I know it looked really bad and kind of washed in the Sanchez fight. It was really weird. I firmly believe he just needed to see one go through the net. He got it. Kasanganay's beating Rosta in the co-main. I took a lot of time on that fight, but again, I'm a big Impa guy. I've watched every Impa Kasanganay fight legitimately ever, so just had to talk about my guy there. Main event, Johnny Eblen, Bryan battle. I'll tell you right now, I don't know why people are picking Bryan battle. Like, to this extent. I get it. This fight should be around even. I don't think Bryan battle should be a favorite. I'm not telling you who I'm picking right now, but I'm not saying I'm immediately taking Johnny Eblen, but I don't entirely see it. I don't. I get it. We're excited for Bryan battle. He had a really good end to his UFC career. Before obviously he got cut because he couldn't make weight against Nilson Ruzbayev. He missed weight by 5 pounds, and prior to that, right, he missed weight against Randy Brown, and he went up to 85, couldn't make weight there. First of all, that's the question: can he make weight here? Can he make 85? I mean, he made 85 in dirty boxing, so I think he's got it figured out. But he's gonna fight Johnny Eblen now. Are we forgetting how good Johnny Eblen is? Just a thought, right? Are we forgetting how good Eblen is? I just said, obviously, I thought Kasanganay beat him, and I still believe Kasanganay beat him. But technically, record-wise, Eblen's lost one fight ever to Costello Venstines, where Venstines pulled off the come-from-behind victory. Was Venstines going to get the decision? Was he not? Again, that's probably, but we'll see. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Johnny Eblen's fighting well early in the fight, just kind of runs out of gas against Venstines. Venstines just doesn't go away in that one. But again, that's Eblen's only loss ever. You're telling me Bryan battle is going to beat Johnny Eblen? Guys, I'm sorry, I don't see it. Okay, I just gave the pick away right away. I don't care. I'm taking Johnny Eblen to beat Bryan battle. It's only a 3-round fight. It's a 3-round fight. All Johnny Eblen's got to do is put battle on his back in 2 of these rounds. I know. Bryan battle came into the UFC as a grappler back when he was kind of fat. Went by the Pooh Bear nickname, right? He was known for his grappling. Won the Ultimate Fighter, submitted Gilbert Urbina to win the thing. He submitted the favorite at the time, Andre Petrosky, with a guillotine of sorts, ninja choke, whatever you want to call it. And that's what battle we knew him as at the time. Really good jiu-jitsu guy, grappler. His striking was lacking at the time, and then really came into his own striking-wise in the UFC. Takashi Sato knockout win, Gabe Green knockout victory. Gabe Green fought the dumbest fight imaginable, whatever. Right, knocked out Kevin Jousset, where he became the villain in France. That's where they need to take battle next, by the way. They need to run Jousset versus battle again. Now that Jousset is here too, I don't care. Jousset got knocked out by Haparoa. You need that beef again in France. I'm telling you, after battle loses this fight. But I just don't think he's able to beat Johnny Eblen. Remember when Bryan battle fought Hanat Fakhretdinov and Fakhretdinov just laid on him for 15 minutes? I think Eblen might be able to do that to him. Legitimately, I think he might be able to. Battle's a good grappler, but against really good wrestlers, and we haven't seen it much. It's just Fakhretdinov gets put on his back the entire time. Yeah, that's 4 years ago. But that's what Johnny Eblen's looking to do. Eblen's looking to take him down just right at top controller. Obviously, Eblen's going to punch when he's on top, and he's going to pressure you. Obviously, that's the nickname. But he's going to pressure you once he's on top, right? Finished Fabian Edwards on the ground, and Fabian Edwards obviously got a 3rd title shot and obviously lost recently. But Eblen's good. Eblen's really good. I don't think Battle's the guy to beat him. Venstines did it, but to me, this feels like, okay, Eblen's going to be a well-known guy, and that's how they get Eblen versus Venstines too. He beats a well-known Bryan battle. A lot of people expect Battle to knock Eblen out. Guys, I do not see it. Eblen's gotten in trouble in the feet before. Again, I will take you back to Eblen Kasanganay. First round, Kasanganay drops Johnny Eblen. He was very close to putting Eblen away. Eblen scramble wrestles, survives the first round. I thought Impa won the second because Eblen did no damage, but landed a takedown, whatever, damage-based scoring. Okay, whatever. Like, if that fight happens now, I think Impa wins it, just because we have a different take now on scoring, at least just around MMA. But regardless, right, that would be the hope for Battle. Like, okay, Impa dropped Eblen, maybe Battle can do it too. Yeah, again, Battle's a good striker. He's really come into his own as of late, right? Won back-to-back fights in, first round knockouts in dirty boxing. I don't know how good are the guys he fought, whatever. I'm not putting too much into the dirty boxing victories. What I will say, though, the run in the UFC was great, right? Ended his UFC run, beating Gabe Green, beating AJ Fletcher, beating Kevin Jusay, beating Randy Brown. With all due respect, none of those guys can beat Johnny Eblen. I know Eblen lost to Vencinas. Guys, and we thought Vencinas is just really good. Because I'll tell you that, I think Vencinas is really good. Vencinas hasn't lost a fight in a very long time. And the guy just beat Fabian Edwards. He hasn't, he did lose to Lima. But still, I mean, he hasn't lost a fight in 3 years. He's looked really good right now. That's the rematch the PFL wants, I think. But I mean, they're not going to be upset, honestly, if Battle wins either. I just think Eblen gets him. Battle's never fought somebody on the level of Johnny Eblen. And when he's fought someone on the wrestling caliber of Eblen, it was Hanat Fakhretdinov. And Fakhretdinov, who now is not fighting the best in the UFC right now, even though he's still winning. It's just some of his fights, like, how does this guy win fights? I don't know. I mean, did beat Andreas Gustafsson, I'll give him that one. But I mean, the Leal fight and the Dalby fight, whatever. He's still winning fights. But when Battle fought Fakhretdinov, it got put on his back. I think Johnny Eblen's going to out-wrestle Bryan Battle here. And I think that, the popular pick's Battle because he was winning all these fights in the UFC. He's a fan favorite, right? He gets cut from the UFC, and then immediately, like 4 days later, he's fighting in dirty boxing. I get it. Fans like Battle quite a bit. I think we're underestimating Johnny Eblen quite a bit. I really think we are. I think if Johnny Eblen's in the UFC, he's probably borderline top 15. He's top 15. Borderline top 15 like Vencinas is. No, he's top 15. He's top 15. And it's not like Johnny Eblen's like old. He's 34. He's still got one more push at the belt. This is the fight that will get him the next opportunity at the title. I think the wrestling is going to be huge in this fight. And I do just think, again, Johnny Eblen just out-wrestles Bryan Battle. Yeah, Battle's going to win on the feet. And if Eblen can't take him down, we're in trouble. And yes, I know, again, Bryan Battle came into the UFC as a grappler. Pure wrestling-wise, I expect Johnny Eblen to win. I do. And if he can't, we're screwed. Not going to lie to you. But I'm taking back-to-back fights. I'm taking the Tapology underdog. I'm going to go Johnny Eblen to win the fight by decision. I do believe the 3-round fight actually helps Eblen quite a bit because that means, again, he needs 2 takedowns. Needs 2 takedowns. We saw in the Vencinas fight, he does run out of gas in that one. I'm not telling you he's going to run out of gas against Battle because it's 3 rounds, but again, and I'm not saying that's going to be a consistent thing out of Eblen because I've seen Eblen go 5. It was just the pace in which him and Vencinas were wrestling at and fighting at was just kind of crazy. It was a tough fight to stay in for Eblen. He gets reversed in the 5th round. Vencinas ends up winning the bout by rear naked choke, but that's Eblen's only ever loss. He's a great wrestler, and the fight's only 3 rounds. Bryan Battle gets 15 minutes to try to knock him out. I do think Eblen's going to be able to scramble wrestle enough, and even if he gets dropped, okay, he still has the opportunity to win 2 rounds after that. Or, regardless of when that knockout happens, Eblen still has the potential to win the other 2 rounds. So I like Johnny Eblen here. It might not be the popular pick, but I think we really need to realize how good Eblen still is, and I think he's going to be next in line to obviously fight for the World Championship. I'm going to go Eblen to beat Bryan Battle by decision. Battle, yes, could 100% knock Eblen out in the feet, but we've still yet to see that. Eblen's never been knocked out. Impa got close, obviously, and yes, Vencinas finished him, but that was on the ground. Eblen's chin, again, has not been that bad. Impa, to my knowledge, right, Impa's the only guy to knock him down recently, at least. I'm trying to remember. Musasi didn't. In the recent history, Fabian didn't knock him down, I don't think, no. Yeah, Eblen's chin's been pretty good. I think he's going to be able to withstand the onslaught from Battle early. Eblen gets takedowns, grounds Battle. Fans aren't going to be excited, but Johnny Eblen's going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Folks, thank you all for watching our PFL Pittsburgh full card predictions. We'll be back in 2 weeks for 2 PFL cards in 2 weeks, both with PFL Africa and PFL Chicago. So make sure to join us for both of those on, early April. Folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. We'll be back later this week for our UFC Seattle Best Bets. So, folks, thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure you like if you enjoy the video. Make sure to comment again if you disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.